You're here because you want to know about one of the most unspoken money traps out there. Hey, everybody, welcome back. It's Curtis. Today, we're going to talk about something super important, which is the cost of owning a car. Okay, most people don't realize how much money they really spend on their cars. You know, when I was younger, I didn't myself. We're going to break all that down and show you some easy ways that you can save money, some low-hanging fruit. Okay, and something just to keep in mind to save you huge amount of bucks in the future. In this presentation, I like to keep things simple. That's just my style, right? So this is going to be really easy to follow. Let's go ahead and get right into it. All right, so let's get right into it, right? One of the biggest things that we spend money on that's right in front of us every day, right? It ain't coffee. It's actually our cars. And cars cost way more than what people think. Why do you think when you go to a dealership or if you've seen people go to a dealership to buy a vehicle, right? Why it takes all day? Because it's a big deal. And they're going to try to extract as much as they can from you. So, anyways, today we're going to look at exactly how much a car really costs you. And you can see right there on the slide, right? It says save thousands every year. That's exactly what I want to show you how to do. And as far as the information, it's credible sources, all backed by AAA data and real cost breakdowns. Not going to be just plainly my opinions, okay? So most families spend money on the same big things. The biggest ones are housing, transportation, taxes, utilities, and food. Now, here's the tricky part. Can you guess which one hurts your savings the most? If you take a look at the slide, you'll see four categories numbered from top to bottom, okay? Number one is housing. No surprise there. Rent, mortgage, it's gonna be costly, especially nowadays, right? But if you take a look at number two, transportation, cars, gas, insurance, and repairs, it says this one sneaks up on you, and that's so true. That is actually the one that, in my opinion, kills your wealth the most. The reason cars are so bad for money is that a lot of people buy fancier cars than they can afford. I mean, I've done it myself. Society makes us think that having cool cars means that you're successful, right? I mean, ever since I was in elementary, I always wanted a Ferrari. I'm sure nowadays a lot of you that the flavor of the day right now is probably a Lamborghini or something like that, right? I mean, who haven't dreamt to have a nice vehicle like that? I still dream to have a Rolls Royce. But the truth is, that fancy car might be keeping you from saving money and getting rich. Cars are what we call a wealth killer, and they're going to eat up your money without you even noticing. So let us take a look at a real example using a Tesla Model 3, right? I'm going to use California as an example, and I'm going to use, again, a Tesla Model 3 because it's not some fancy super sports car or anything like that. It's a car that we see on the road on a regular basis. It's a real popular vehicle that a lot of folks have nowadays, and in fact, even my nephew has one. He's still in high school. So if you look right below the title, there's a line that breaks it all down. MSRP $38,999. That's about $42,200 in California with taxes. Okay. The 5-year cost on that is roughly about $56,000. That comes out to about $11,000 per year. Now, think about this. The average American makes about 54 grand a year only. I mean, that tells us that this one car is eating up 21% of your entire paycheck before taxes if you were to have this vehicle at this MSRP rate. That's a huge chunk of money just going to one thing. And it's going to be really hard to save money and build wealth, especially if you're pouring all this cash going towards your car. And remember, this again, it's a Tesla Model 3. It's a car that we see on the road on a regular basis. It's all over the place. It's not some super expensive vehicle. Allow me to break down the numbers for you because I mean they're pretty eye-opening. If you look across the top row of the slide, you'll see the big three, $56,000 total cost over 5 years, 21% of your yearly paycheck, and again, $11,000 per year at cost to you. Just let those numbers sink in for a second. Now, in the second row, there's one number I really want you to notice. Right there in the middle, it says 28%. That is how much value a brand new car loses in just the first year. You drive it off the lot, and over a quarter of your money is gone. I'm sure if you haven't heard about that, right? I mean, it's people mention it all the time. And according to AAA, the average cost to own an electric vehicle, an EV, is about $10,000 per year, or $10,800 per year, roughly $11,000 a year. 99% of all cars lose their value over time, and that's called depreciation, okay? That's when they lose their value. And don't forget charging, right? I mean, you're not paying gas, but you still have to charge that vehicle. If I were to use a gas vehicle as an example, we would use gas, but ultimately, if you were to have a Tesla Model 3 like this here in this example, you would still have to charge it, and it's still going to cost you, although it's going to be way cheaper than gas. It'll cost you roughly, if you take a look at the screen, about $88 a month on average. So these numbers really add up if you put them all together. All right, now, so the biggest cost of owning a car is something called depreciation. Depreciation basically means that your car loses value over time, right? I mean, that's common knowledge. Most of us know that. Of course, there are some vehicles that do gain in value, but that's really rare. And then one thing that, in my opinion, you should think about is if ultimately you're going to end up getting a car, think about picking up a vehicle that's not going to depreciate so fast, or that's going to be able to maintain a good amount of value as well, right? That way, if you end up swapping into a different vehicle, you can, have more value in that car trading over to the other one. So anyways, depreciation, right? Think of it this way. 99% of all cars go down in value as they get older. When you buy a brand new car, drive it off the lot, right? It becomes a used car right away. Again, as I mentioned in the last slide, it loses tons of value right off the bat. So if you paid $30,000 and you just lost, $3,000 to $4,000 on day one, I mean, that's already a reason why putting your money into a car is not a great investment. You're basically putting your money into something that is guaranteed to be worth less tomorrow. But here's the good news. If you look at the right side of the slide under where it says how to save, it lays out the fix, okay? Buy a car that is 3 to 5 years old. By that point, most of the big value uh, has already dropped and has happened, right? So the car is ultimately still new enough, and you shouldn't have to deal with a lot of repairs or anything like that. And it's going to be able to prevent you from having that, loss right when you drive that brand new vehicle off the lot. Now, for a personal example, and my brother, he used to be a finance manager at a large dealership. Okay, one of his closest friends was the general manager there, and I used to, as a kid, I used to play poker with him. Real cool guy, and he was practically like a brother to me. Okay, I bought my first vehicle from them, and he took good care of me. Okay, I wanted a brand new vehicle. At the time, it was $30,000. Okay, you're talking about, this is back in 2007-ish. $30,000 vehicle, and he just said, "Hey man, it's gonna be really expensive for you. The monthly payment's gonna be about $500 or more already. I mean, I'm making a decent amount of money, and a $500 payment is a huge strain on me. I don't want you to have to go through that. Drive that certified pre-owned vehicle over there, and it's gonna be only about 2/3 the cost, okay? And see how you feel about it." I took the vehicle out. It was a 2 or 3 year old vehicle only. It drove like a brand new car. It felt like a brand new car. It was fantastic. And you know what? I think that was one time somebody took really good care of me. And I appreciate you so much for that, Todd. I appreciate you, sir. So, that being said, please take that as an example. The interesting thing is that I remember that vehicle. It's when you think about the cost of those vehicles back then and with inflation nowadays, a 16, $17,000 car isn't going to get you much nowadays. So, anyways, speaking of inflation, right? I made a video based on inflation. I've got a video on net present value and stuff like that to explain, why your money, essentially, your money today is worth less than your money tomorrow. So, or I'm sorry, let me take that back. Your money tomorrow is worth less than your money today, right? A dollar tomorrow is worth less than a dollar today. And I've got that in one of my videos. If you're interested, take a look through my videos and watch it, please. So let's go ahead and move forward. Now, if you take a look at how cars lose their value over time, there's a sweet spot for buying, okay? The slide breaks down into three tiers from top to bottom. Brand new cars at the top. They lose value the fastest. We mentioned that several times, 10 to 15% as soon as you take them off the lot, drive them home, okay? That's like throwing away thousands of dollars just to say, hey, my car is brand new, right off the lot, all right? In fact, that's infamous. Now, the middle section is the one where I really want you to focus on. It says the sweet spot, 3 to 5 years old. Most of the big price has already dropped and has already happened, but the car, again, right, it's basically new. If you don't believe me, go out there to a dealership, try one of those out, and tell me what you think. Leave that, drop it into the comments. Or if you've bought one like that before, right, share with us in the comments. Share with people how you felt about it. So look for cars that are about, that got pretty good mileage on them still, I think. I think 30, 40,000 miles is pretty ideal. You don't want to have a vehicle that's ran so much already that you're going to be concerned about repairs and that's extra cost, right? That defeats the entire point of what we're trying to do, which is ultimately to be more efficient with our money and to build our wealth better and to be more mindful about our money. So older cars at the bottom, okay, 7+ years. They can be cheap to buy, but again, you think about the repair costs. The last thing I want to do is have to put in more work into the vehicle. Take a look at the tires. I mean, a 7-year-old vehicle might have old tires, right? Right off the bat. I mean, that could be, if you're replacing all four, that could be $1,000 right there, right off the bat. So, some things to keep in mind. The smart move is to aim for that 3 to 5 year sweet spot, okay? Now, let's talk about taxes and fees and financing as well. And these are costs that, you really can't get around, okay? Every car you own comes with taxes and registration fees that you have to pay for every year. On my vehicles, I know every year my wife complains about it because our vehicles come in all at the same time practically. The registration fees at least. So, if your family has more than one car, those fees multiply just like my family. Okay, me and my wife, we both have to, go our separate ways, go to work, etc. So, we share our responsibilities with, dropping the kids off, etc. So we've got to have a couple of cars to be able to make things work. Some families have 3 or 4 cars, but only 2 or 3 people in the house. I mean, getting rid of one extra car could certainly save you a lot of money in fees alone. That's already a win. Now, let's talk about financing, right? Which means you're going to have to take a loan and borrow money to buy the car. That's essentially what happens when you go to the dealership and they take you through this long process, this all day process, because first off, they want you to be fatigued. They want you to just be ready to get out of there with the car. They want you to be emotional so that, again, right, they can try to win on their side of the financing to extract as much as they can practically. Most people can't pay for a car all at once. So of course, that's what's going to have to happen, the financing. And then of course, they're going to have to make a down payment as well. So that's additional money. Okay, some things to think about, right? Right now interest rates on car loans are about 6 to 6.5% if you have good credit. If your credit's not that great, of course, what happens is the rate is even higher. And for most people, right, I mean, they don't see the big difference between 6 or 8 or 9%, but over time, each each one of those points is going to add up to so much money. Okay, especially if you're doing it on on I don't know, maybe a 72-month term. Okay, so what that really means is that you're going to be paying extra money on top of the car price just because you borrowed the money, right? That's paying back in interest. So let me mention two more big costs for you, okay? It's going to be your charging, which we're going to call your fuel, and insurance, all right? If you take a look at the top row of the slide, you'll see that you'll see the big three, okay? $5,250 towards charging, that's over 5 years, $88 a month just for that charging, and $10,700 for insurance over 5 years. A lot of people forget that, they've got to charge or they've got to make the payment of their insurance on top of the vehicle even before they purchase the car. Now, I would like for you to promise me one thing, okay? If you're looking into buying a car, take a look at how much your insurance is going to cost you. Think about all the additional costs that's going to come with the vehicle, such as charging and whatever else that you plan to do for it, any upgrades or any repairs that must be done on it. I mentioned in one of the previous slides, tires, right? Take a look at the tires. That might be additional costs. So all those things are going to add up. The insurance says $178 a month, okay? Now you can see down at the bottom of the slide where it adds up. Charging and insurance together, they're going to be about $266 a month on top of your regular car payment, okay? That's the number that catches people off guard. One great tip is to shop around for insurance every single year. Call different companies. Ask for their best rate. They often try to beat each other's prices so that they can have you as a customer, okay? So one thing that I like to do personally, okay, if I feel that I'm not getting the most out of the insurance company that I'm with, I'm gonna shop around. All right. That's the smart thing to do. You could save a lot of money by just making one phone call. Remember that. Okay, here's a really cool trick for saving money on car insurance, okay? Every year, pick a date on your calendar, like maybe your birthday or a holiday, and on that day, call your insurance company and ask if they can give you a better deal. If they can't lower your price, start calling other insurance agencies. The left side on the slide lays out the steps, okay? Pick a date, call your current company, then get quotes from other companies to compare. And it's as simple as that. And you can kind of use that to leverage, okay? And let the companies know. I mean, that's how much you're able to get from this other company. If you take a look at the right under pro tips, there's a bonus. You can do this same trick with your phone bill and internet too, all right? Companies have special deals for new customers, so try to use that to your advantage. I mean, one of the things that bothers me the most is definitely when I know I'm paying more than an advertisement that I'm seeing that they have for new customers, especially if I've been a loyal customer for so many years. So simple trick, try that out, right? Let me know if it worked for you or anything like that. Drop it into the comments, right? Let us know what you did that you made work. That way we can try to leverage that and use that too. All right, now let's talk about repairs and maintenance, okay? Because this is a huge deal. This is something that certainly I can say my wife doesn't ever want to have to deal with, okay? Especially the repairs. I take care of the maintenance, but she doesn't ever want the vehicle to break down. It's really important for her to have a reliable vehicle. And as a spouse, right? I mean, that's the last thing I want to deal with too, is having my family stranded on the road. Okay, so these costs are hard to avoid, but there's some tricks to spend less. For example, the top section talks about tire rotations. You can watch a short tutorial online on YouTube, okay, and learn how to do it yourself, okay? And take your time. Take your time, learn how to do it the right way, okay? Don't rush through it as well. Every time you do it, you're going to save some money, okay? Maybe $50 to $75 or so. That's going to help you out a lot. And it's just, once you get good at it and once you get it down, you'll feel a lot better about doing it yourself rather than to maybe have an inexperienced technician at one of the shops that barely just got hired on board working on your vehicle, okay? Because safety is a big concern as well, okay? Something to be mindful about. Now, the middle section is the one that really blows people's minds, okay? If you take a look at it, it's called the EV maintenance savings. With an electric car, you don't need to do oil changes, spark plugs, or transmission fluid at all, right? That's why people love these vehicles. Tesla estimates that Model 3 maintenance is at only $257 to $499 per year. You could save thousands over the life of the car compared to gas. And the bottom section covers something pretty cool. Tesla sends free over-the-air software that updates and fixes the vehicle automatically. That sounds pretty cool. I heard about that, but I haven't experienced it firsthand. So I just wanted to mention that. Many problems for those Teslas can be diagnosed remotely, which is nice, and it's through the app, so you don't always have to take it in. But there's a but. Tesla, Tesla vehicles. Okay, one thing that I have heard about them: watch out for the insurance costs. And of course, if there is a problem, right, and only Tesla fixes it, it's a high cost. So those are things to keep in mind. And ultimately, at the end of the day, whether you get a Tesla Model 3 or a Honda Civic or a Chevy Malibu or whatever it might be, just ensure that it's gonna need less repairs, okay? Or you're gonna mitigate repairs by getting a vehicle that is more reliable. That's important. All right, so we're going to segue this and move into something that is close and dear to my heart, and it's going to be close and dear to your heart too, right? Here's where things get really interesting. Let's talk about something that's called opportunity cost, right? What that means, opportunity cost is basically what you give up for doing one thing. Okay, so you do one thing, you're giving something else up. Opportunity cost, and it's going to have to do with your money, obviously. So opportunity cost is a fancy way of saying, what else could I do with that money? And as the slide says, if you saved $10,000 a year instead of spending it on a car, your money could certainly grow a lot. For example, if you put $10,000 into Microsoft, I'm talking about their stock, okay, back in 2018, it almost tripled, all right? That means your $10,000 would be worth about $30,000 5 years later. And okay, keep that in mind, okay? That's $10,000 a year. Okay, and it's been several years already, 5 years later. Okay, just imagine if you kept continuing that investment, 10,000, 10,000, 10,000, 10,000, 10,000. Okay, and being consistent with it. All right. Now, I know, I mean, I'm just using Microsoft as an example, okay? But there are solid investments out there that are consistent and reliable, okay? Now, anyways, you can definitely lose your money in the stock market, and that's important to know. But the point is that when you spend money on a car, you're not just paying for the car, you're also missing out on what that money could have been in the future, what it could have earned you somewhere else. And that's the most important thing. That is the opportunity cost, which is the money that you could have made, but instead you put it into something else, okay? Like a car, or maybe traveling on a vacation, or maybe, hanging out every weekend, going out to eat out, have dinners with your friends, things like that. Okay. So be mindful about that. Let me show you the math on opportunity cost. Okay. If you look across the top row of the slide, you're going to see the story laid out. $10,000 saved per year. $30,000 is what could have grown into. And then right there on the right, it says 3x your money. Okay. Triple. That's a powerful visual. Okay. Of course, investments can go down, as I mentioned before. You can lose money in the stock market, but what's important is that you invest in something that's going to be reliable. Okay. Something that, a company like Microsoft that owns enterprises, businesses across the globe with Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, Microsoft Teams, all the governments use that, corporate companies use it. They're more likely to continue making it through for the long term. So ultimately, the big idea is that your car money isn't just going to be gone, but that money could have been working for you, right? And I'm sure a lot of you have heard the term or the saying, have your money working for you, or making money while you sleep. That's essentially what it is. The bottom row, if you take a look, uh, it's the other side of the coin. Even smaller moves like paying $200 more in rent to live closer, driving less, saving on gas and insurance, spending less time commuting, it all adds up, right? Maybe you can walk to work. Maybe you can take your bicycle to work. At one of my jobs when I was younger, one of the best things I ever did was live directly across the street from my workplace. And it saved me so much, not just on gas and but I really appreciated the amount of time that it gave me back from commuting as well. So I loved living, really close to my workplace. That was so awesome. It's another great way to really save, when you live closer to where you work. A lot of people drive and commute, right? 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour just to get to work every day. All that driving uses up gas, and it's going to put wear and tear on your car. And obviously that's going to create more expenses and costs. So not just on, your financial side, but your time as well. So some things to consider. If you take a look at the left side of the slide, right, it shows us the benefits, less driving, less gas, fewer repairs, even $200 more in rent could save you way more on these costs. And you think about it, for a car, if you're doing long commutes, okay, which I've done before, an hour and a half commutes one way, okay, I mean, you're putting a beat down on your vehicle, your maintenance, you've got to do oil changes and tire rotations more often. All those things add up outside of the gas that you've got to pump. When I was doing an hour and a half commute one way, I was pumping every day and a half, 2 days. Okay. That was not fun. Now, on the right side, it's important too, okay? This is the reality check. Not everybody can move closer to their job. I get it. And not everybody wants to be in that same area where their workplace is at. I get it. I totally get it. But, nonetheless, do the math and see if it makes sense for you, okay? At least give that a shot. Especially if you're young, okay? If you've just graduated out of college, or maybe just got your first job, right? Those type of things you should consider. That way you can actually build your wealth quicker, build that cushion, and you're going to have a lot more options in the future, and a lot more peace of mind for sure once you build your financial cushion. A lot of times, right, it's totally worth it to pay a little bit more to rent and drive, especially if it's going to be in a neighborhood that you prefer, or a safer neighborhood, or something along that line. Something that's going to be of more value to you. But in general, these are just some ideas that I wanted to share with you all. All right, so here's a few more tips that I'd like to share with you all, right? Just trying to be helpful. and hopefully some of this can help save you money, okay? First tip is going to be, when your check engine light comes on, okay, don't panic. You don't have to buy like one of those scanners or anything like that. Although I do have a scanner myself. You can go to an auto parts store, and they'd be glad to scan your car for free. Sometimes it's going to be something super simple. Okay, so don't be too stressed over that. Second tip is going to be that if your family has an extra vehicle, okay, spend the time to jot down all the expenses that vehicle accrues. The insurance that it costs, the registration that we've got to pay on our vehicles on an annual basis, and then of course the maintenance. And of course these costs, expenses accrues even if the vehicle's just sitting around, okay? So jot it down and at least have it in the forefront of your mind. You know what it costs you to keep that vehicle around, and it might lead you to be a little bit more cost efficient by reducing the amount of vehicles that your family has. Third tip at the bottom, try filling up your gas at warehouse stores. That's one of my favorite things to do. I pump at Costco most of the time, and it's oftentimes a whole lot cheaper than even the cheaper gas pumps out there like Arco AM PM. And again, if you think about it, if you fill up on a weekly basis, that's going to save you several hundred of dollars a year. Okay, it could be $250 to $400 a year. Small change is going to equal big savings. All right, especially with the cost of gas now, right? With the conflict in Iran, the Strait of Hormuz being blocked off. They can't get, oil across the globe and stuff like that for gas and other energy needs. Our gas prices have skyrocketed, and this is going to even more so help you save money in times like this. All right, let's do a quick recap of the top 4 things to remember, okay? Number 1, buy in the sweet spot. If you're going to buy a vehicle, remember something maybe 3 years old or something like that, something with low mileage, 30 to 40,000 miles, okay? Think about a vehicle that's not going to break down on you, something that's going to be reliable, something you're not going to have to repair right after you purchased it. That's going to be important. And again, try not to get a vehicle that's going to lose a lot of its value in a short period of time. Try to get a vehicle that's gonna, at least not depreciate so quickly. You'll be you'll be glad you did. Trust me. I've had a couple vehicles in my time. I was glad that I purchased a vehicle that maintained its value quite well. Number 2, shop for insurance. Okay, all these insurance companies out there, just give them a call. You might be able to save a couple $100s by just giving them a call. Okay, they are out there to try to compete with each other for your business. So give them a call. See if that will help you reduce some expenses throughout the year. Number 3, if you've got a lot of cars, see which ones you can cut down on, right? Like I said, jot it down on a note, all the expenses, and take a look at it, right? Really think about which one you need, and if you don't really need one, you might be able to get rid of it and save yourself a lot. And then, of course, right, roll that into investments where you can actually grow your money, right? Make that money while you're sleeping. That's a good thing. Number 4, live closer to work, and I can't attest that enough. It was one of the best things for me when I was younger, right before I had a family, living right across the street from my workplace, saved me on gas. I think even my rent wasn't too bad at the time, so definitely saved me money on gas and on time and on the commute and on the car wear and tear. So some things that might benefit you, especially if you can live closer to your workplace. So, I mean, ultimately, car prices are going to keep going up. Don't try to keep up with everybody else, right? Keeping up with the Joneses, that's what they call it. Just get a vehicle that's going to be reliable for you, okay? Have your blinders on like the horses, okay? Your neighbors might have the nicest vehicle in the neighborhood, but I mean, get something that's going to be effective for you financially. You'll be you'll appreciate that, as time passes. And then buy a car that you can actually afford, right? Your wallet will definitely thank you. All right, before I wrap this up, I want to give you a quick side-by-side look at your options, okay? If you look at the top row of the slide, you'll see three paths. New on the left, used in the middle, and no car on the right. Buying brand new is the most expensive, obviously, right? Keep that in mind. It's it's not a coincidence that people say, you know, you're gonna lose several thousands of dollars right when you take the vehicle off the lot after you bought it brand new. And then buying used at 3 to 5 years old is going to be your sweet spot, okay? Just make sure that it's going to be a reliable car, that it's not all beat up already, and it's, still got decent mileage. And then lastly, going without a car entirely is going to give you the maximum savings, but that's not going to work for everybody. However, especially nowadays, we do have a lot more alternatives, right? We've got the e-bicycles out there, scooters out there, and people are actually really utilizing these things to travel a bit. So some things that you're going to have to figure out what's going to be most effective for you and what's going to be right for you. The most important thing to think about is the real cost before you actually buy it. Okay, so don't just if you need a vehicle, if you need to buy a car, okay, do some research first. Take the time, jot it down on a piece of paper, calculate it, identify maybe some of the costs out there so you get a mathematical understanding of the cost that's going to come with the vehicle before you go over to the dealership and then uh, they get you all fatigued and then you just, um, get whatever they end up wanting to sell you at whatever cost they want to sell you for. Okay? Make the smart choice for your wallet. That's what I'd like for you to do. All right, so that was my breakdown of the true cost of owning a car. Thank you for sticking with me through this entire presentation. I wanted to share as much to be as helpful as I could so that you can take care of yourself, really. And, I just want you to remember that costs on these cars are way more than just the sticker price or the MSRP price that you're going to see on the commercials or maybe on an advertisement online or something like that, right? Just keep those things in mind. The cost of gas, insurance, maintenance, taxes, charging your electric vehicle, even the cost of depreciation, right? Think holistically about this stuff and be smart about your money because tying it back, there's always an opportunity cost. You can put your money somewhere else that might be more beneficial for you. Okay, those are things for you to identify. I just want to shed some light on it so at least you, if I'm sure a lot of these things you may have heard of before, but if you picked up one or two things that can benefit you a lot, I'm grateful for that. Okay, I'm happy. Okay, so just remember, everybody, is out there driving their nice cars, paying tons of money on it, and trying to show those things off. But you don't have to try to keep up with everybody else. Do what's right for you, and you could still get a nice vehicle that's not gonna, make you go broke or impact your financial well-being in the long term. Okay, so keep those things in mind, and I hope this was helpful for you. If you've got any questions, feel free to drop it into the comments, okay? I'm more than glad to try to answer some of the questions or converse with you in the comments as well. Whatever has helped you out, maybe if you've got some tips and tricks that I didn't bring up in this video or something like that that might be beneficial for the audience or even for myself, drop it into the comments, right? Let us know. Anyways, I appreciate you all so much. If this video helped you out by any means, share it with those that you love. Share it with those that you think might be able to. This might be able to help them out, right? Especially if they're looking into buying a vehicle or they're trying to buy their first car. Who knows? Okay, this might help them out. Please share it with those that it can help. Anyways, I appreciate you all so much for liking, commenting, and subscribing. I look forward to seeing you all on the next one, okay? Make it a great day.